Hi beautiful ladies, welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Dear Black Exotical submission from one of our viewers. I'm going to go ahead and read her message and then provide some commentary at the end. I am a medical student and I work with a team of other medical students. For context, I am a Black Exotical who works with another Black woman and a non-Black woman and a Black man. I have noticed that when I stand up for myself and don't worship the non-Black coworker, she takes issue with this and talks about me with others, particularly the other Black woman. There was an incident last year where she disrespected me in front of a patient, and I called her out on it and asked that she not do that in front of patients, and that any necessary feedback should be discussed with me privately. Her response was that she cried profusely and said that she did not mean to hurt me and that she is tired of people perceiving her as mean. Long story short, I was perceived as the aggressor when I was actually the victim. Another incident happened where we had a group meeting to discuss an upcoming project. My non-Black colleague does not contribute to the meetings and does not submit her work on time, thus affecting me and my ability to work on certain aspects of the project. A few days later, we had another meeting where she aired out her grievances and felt that we were not being empathetic and deflected, saying that she had a lot going on. We all have a lot going on, and I expressed that she isn't the only one going through things. Throughout the meeting, the other Black woman was comforting her and asking if she was okay. I thought this was strange because I was crying and did not receive the same sympathy from my fellow Black woman. The non-Black woman used harsh language and heavily implied that I was an anal ASS bitch. I expressed that I do not appreciate being called these things, and she said that she was speaking generally and that if she wanted to call me these things, she would say it directly. The Black man sat there and did nothing. He only approached me afterwards and was agreeing with me. Why didn't he speak up? This upset me. The other Black woman continued to comfort her during the meeting and only checked up on me after the meeting, even though I was the one who was crying. I will have to continue working with her for another year, and we are still working on this project. Please help me strategize to deal with her. It feels as though she is targeting me because I don't play into her games. Thank you so much for your submission and congrats on being admitted to medical school. And I'm so sorry to hear that you're having a tough time. Now, from what I heard from what you provided, it sounds like this individual is a bit emotionally immature. You had disclosed your age to me, and if she is in the same age group, it's not surprising that she would be a little bit emotionally stunted because people in their early 20s tend to be immature, even though many are in professional settings and pursuing professional studies like medicine. So honestly, you're going to encounter many similar situations like this. Also, due to the fact that the medical field attracts a lot of egoistic individuals and people who may believe that you don't deserve to be in the same space as them for whatever reason. It could be their own personal biases and prejudices. It could or could not be racism, or it could just be flat out jealousy, or like I mentioned, the person is just emotionally stunted. Maybe they're used to always getting their way. A lot of students who go to medical school, they are legacy students, so maybe their parents or uncle or grandparents were also went to the same medical school, and so they've always kind of been handed everything in life and they feel a sense of entitlement. They've been taught that the world is there to serve them. And so maybe you not serving into her emotional demands is kind of a shocker for her, where she has to navigate someone challenging her, someone not meeting her emotional needs. Just know and understand that it is not your responsibility to cater to this person emotionally. It is not your responsibility to help this person navigate their issues. If they're having issues emotionally and having a hard time coping, first of all, they need to recognize that. And secondly, they need to go speak to a therapist about that. But when dealing with an individual like this, I suggest that you document everything. So take notes of every incident that has happened, who was there, take note of who was there, the outcome of the situation, and any witnesses. You also want to note the day and the time that this took place, where it happened, what led up to the situation, etc. This info will be helpful if you choose to bring it up to an administrator, the dean, your team lead, whatever, so that you have some proof. It also shows that you are coming from a place of looking for resolution. You have your receipts and that you've done your due diligence, and you're not just looking to kind of just complain and whine about situations, which, even though your situation is valid, depending on who is dealing with your matter, who you bring the matter up to, sometimes they can see it as, oh, look, this is just another, young med student drama that I just don't want to have to deal with. But when you come with the facts and you present it, people are more likely to take you seriously. When you're dealing with her in particular or anyone else who is like this, because you're probably going to deal with similar issues as you progress in your medical school career and just your medical career in general, I suggest that you address the person directly and in private, like what you did with her before when you told her that you did not appreciate her disrespecting you in front of patients, and avoid getting other people involved or expecting other people to jump in for you, because honestly, most people don't care and will often take the other person's side, because Black women are always often seen as the aggressor. It's sort of that angry Black woman trope where unless you kind of just sit there and take the abuse, even if you kind of speak up calmly, it's the, oh, she's getting angry. Oh, look at the Black girl, she's getting mad. When you have every right to be upset in a situation like that. It's also not that person's problem to have your back, unfortunately. So they're going to be less inclined to help you out, and they're going to help out whoever they want to help out, just depending on their own subjective point of view and their own personal intentions. Okay, it's evident that the other Black woman has a bias towards helping her and kind of just being that emotional support, either because maybe they have a friendship outside of your studies. Don't also expect Black men to kind of come out outwardly and rescue you, because many don't and won't. For the same reasons that I mentioned, many kind of just will sit there because they feel like it's not their problem. They feel like it's not their duty. Kind of taking care of yourself emotionally and doing the steps that I'm going to outline to you is the best way of handling and navigating situations like this. So that number one, you're making sure that this person no longer continues to abuse you. And number two, you're protecting your mental health and not feeling gaslit into thinking that you are being overly dramatic. When you're interacting with your teammates, especially this young lady, just keep it professional. So treat your image, which is honestly your personal brand. It's how people view you and determine how they want to interact with you. Treat it as you would a business and handle difficult people with the same formality that you would with a difficult client. So you don't allow the client or the customer to get you out of character by losing control of your emotions. Even though you have every right to be upset, you don't let them see you cry. If you need to cry, go to the bathroom and cry and then pull yourself together and go back out. Do not give them that satisfaction, because sometimes people behave that way because they want to see you get down. That's their primary objective. But be firm and assertive so that you can signal that you will not be pushed around. Okay, think of like belligerent customers who go into a store demanding crazy things, and the manager is always composed, they're poised, they listen to what the person has to say, but then they always stand on the company's policies. They're firm, they're assertive, and they say, you know what, Mr. Customer, I hear where you're coming from, but unfortunately X, Y, and Z, and this is our policy, and this is what we're going to stick to. And this is how we're going to stick to it. Treat her and other individuals like that with the same level of formality. And honestly, this kind of catches people like this off guard, because people like this obviously have a hard time establishing and respecting boundaries. And so when you put up that boundary of, we're just here to work together, we're not friends, we're not going to be chummy, it kind of throws them off, like, oh no, like I thought I was going to be able to pass that boundary and kind of get away with having an emotional meltdown the way that I would in front of my friends and family. But now, like, you're putting up this wall, this brick wall of formality. It almost forces them to be in line, because when other people are around you and they see that you are this professional person, and then they're kind of over there throwing a tantrum like a 2-year-old, they end up looking stupid and they end up becoming embarrassed. So that's how you take power and control of the situation. And if there are onlookers and if these situations have played out in maybe the clinical setting in front of other people, there always 9 times out of 10 is someone who saw what happened. And based on how you handled yourself, people could look and see, like, you know what? I like the way that this Black Exotical handled herself. Like, she is so poised, she is so classy, she's so professional. Like, that other girl, she's super crazy, like, typical X, Y, and Z behavior. Like, this is somebody that I want to work with in the future. This is someone that I want to get to know. And you call back your power that way. It is not easy, don't get me wrong. It is much easier to feed into that emotional back and forth exchange and that battle, especially when you're in your early 20s. But this is a perfect opportunity for you to train that skill, because trust me, you are going to need it as you progress in your career outside of school. When you encounter situations with this individual, address everything via email so that you have a written record of what happened. And if administration again gets involved, at least you have a written record of the exchange. Even if she doesn't reply to your email, the objective is not to get a response from her via email, but the objective is to demonstrate that you have done your due diligence. It shows the tone and the messaging that you use in the email, and it shows that you also handle yourself professionally, which is expected in a medical school setting. So be professional, stick to the facts, keep your emotions out of your response or out of your messaging, because sometimes we're blind to our own voice, and what may sound normal to us can sound emotional or aggressive to others, even if that's not our intention. And when you're sending this email, use I statements, so avoid you in your message so that you don't come off as attacking, again, even if that's not your intention, but simply state how the action made you feel. So you can say, dear so and so, when this was said to me in front of the patient, it made me feel embarrassed, or it made me feel undermined because blah, 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 explain your reasoning. And then you kind of want to end off by providing a solution so that it's apparent that you're looking to improve the situation so that you can successfully complete your project and not simply be seen as casting blame and causing drama. I would prefer, so you can say things like, I would prefer if you address me in XYZ manner when dealing with patients, so that it's been documented and made pretty clear that those are your boundaries and your expectations. And if she decides that she wants to complain to administration about you, you can pull up those emails and say, oh, well, that's interesting because I had a conversation with you or I had sent you an email to address this matter, and I had discussed how the situation made me feel, how I perceived it and interpreted it, and I had extended the opportunity for us to work together to form a solution, but, I didn't hear back from you. Or if she did respond, you acknowledged it, so I thought we were on the same page. Now she ends up looking like the person in the wrong. She ends up looking problematic because it's like, oh, well, it sounds like this person did their due diligence to try to address the issue in a pretty professional and classy manner. I don't see what your problem is still. So now, again, you're claiming back your power and your ownership, and she's kind of left in the dust looking stupid if she does not reciprocate. Or hopefully she'll get the picture and grow up and just follow suit and not cause any more problems. But for more aggressive situations like what you experienced when she called you out of your name, I would honestly get administration involved at this point, or your program lead, or whatever it's called, whoever's put in place to kind of look over your group. Cursing at someone is considered a form of harassment and abuse in many spaces, and there are often dire consequences. So for example, like I've been to like stores and restaurants where they have a sign up at the cash saying, and medical offices where they have a sign up at the cash saying, look, if any form of harassment, including like cursing, will not be tolerated, and we reserve the right to refuse you service if you behave in this manner. So, people can again be denied service, they can be banned from the space, or they can face disciplinary action. If these institutions take swearing and cursing at someone so seriously, you have the right to do the same. You may be afraid to get the administration involved because it can be seen as you causing drama or like escalating the situation, or you don't want to be perceived as, oh, like she's being too sensitive. you know, she's being dramatic, but just remember the facts. She was cursing at you and not the other way around. And if she was doing it in front of other people, that could also be seen as a form of harassment and bullying. And I'm pretty sure the school that you go to has a zero tolerance policy for that. When she cursed at you, this likely made you feel embarrassed and uncomfortable, and you deserve to work and study in an environment that is safe from harassment. And honestly, if the tables were turned, she would definitely report you. The fact that she cried when you confronted her about being rude in front of a patient, and she tried to deflect and manipulate the situation by making herself seem as the victim instead of taking accountability, just proves that she seems like the type that will always try to make herself look like the helpless victim, which honestly is pretty typical for women who come from her demographic. I would recommend that you address it first via email, because the administrator, if you go to them, are going to say, okay, well, what did you do to try to fix the situation? And you can say, oh, you know, I spoke to her in person. And it's like, okay, well, that's a matter of he said, she said. It's your word against hers. But if you have any written evidence, especially if she responded or maybe if she ignored it, you can show the administrator and said, okay, this is what I said. This is the timeline of events, especially when I said to you earlier to document everything that happens. This is the timeline of events, and this is what I sent to her via email to try to rectify the situation. But it seems as if the situation is getting worse, or we're not getting to a resolution. Now it shows like, okay, you did try to handle the situation correctly. Okay, now I can step in and provide you with the tools to fix it. And it may involve her reassigning you guys to different groups, or it may involve her getting a talking to. And depending on who is involved in the situation, sometimes it can be written down on the person's record. Like, okay, this person is not a team player. This person has poor emotional regulation. Honestly, like, we need someone who's emotionally mature to deal with patients, especially belligerent patients. She's just not at the level yet, and so she can be overlooked for internships that the hospital allocates to their top students. If your school, most schools, they have like a guidance counselor type of thing. I would also recommend going to this guidance counselor and speaking to them. It's probably not called a guidance counselor, but you know what I mean. And letting them know about the situation. They can also provide you with tips on how to navigate it specifically to that institution. They will pull up the policy, let you know what the school's policy is, and connect you with the right resources. You can do that before you speak to the administrator if you'd like. Sometimes they just give like a very neutral listening ear, and they can let you know how to navigate the situation as it pertains to your school specifically. So definitely utilize that resource. You're paying a lot of money to go get your medical license. Use every single resource that's available to you. Similarly, I suggest that you get a mentor, specifically someone who can relate to your experiences, whether it's another Black woman or a woman in general. Some schools, especially like the student groups, like I don't know if there's like a Black Medical Association or like a Women in Medicine group, but some of them have a mentorship program where more junior students are paired with more senior students. And so they help you navigate medical school, including like difficult situations. Maybe your mentor went through the same thing or a similar situation, and it'll be really helpful to kind of have that validation in someone saying, hey, like, you're not alone, you're not crazy, you're not being dramatic, like, this is more common than you think, like, this is how I handled the situation, or this is how you should go about it. If you're not able to find a mentor at the school, honestly, you can just reach out to the college that governs the license in wherever you are. So sometimes there's a college of medicine for the state of New York, or sometimes there's a college of medicine for England, like wherever you may be. You can, sometimes they have like events or the same thing where they offer mentorship, where like doctors mentor med students. Or you can just do a simple Google search to see if there's mentorship for med students, and I'm sure you will find something, especially if you live in a big city or you just live in a country where there's a lot of there's like a prominent med school. You're sure to find something. I also recommend that you network. So med school is an amazing experience and opportunity that will shape your life for the better by exposing you to amazing resources that you probably wouldn't have access to if you didn't go to medical school. All right, don't let anyone ruin this experience for you or take it away from you. Go to social events and have fun. Like medical school, I'm pretty sure is hard enough. You shouldn't have to deal with unnecessary drama. And so try to find every opportunity to have fun, whether it's a skiing event, whether it's a wine and cheese night or a simple paint night or just a simple party. Find every opportunity to have fun while obviously focusing on your studies. Go to conferences, speak to practicing doctors in the fields that you're interested in to get their advice, just on med school or the practice in general. And this can honestly lead to job opportunities in the future, whether it's an internship, residency, whatever. And lastly, I just want to say to you and anyone else who may have a similar situation, you worked hard to get here and you deserve to be in that space just as much as anyone else. So do not allow anyone to push you out of that space or intimidate you or make you feel small. Okay? All the best in your studies and your future endeavors. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think about this one. If you have any tips or advice for our friend here, please drop them down below in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.